They say good fences make good neighbors, but in Cedar Crest Meadows, a fence can start a war. I never thought a 6-foot cedar gate could cause this much trouble. But then again, I also didn't realize how fragile suburban peace really is, especially when your HOA president thinks she's a general in a beige-colored army. It all began on an ordinary Saturday morning. The air smelled like fresh coffee and hydrangeas. Blue and red strobes flickered against my front yard like a low-budget police drama. And there, right in front of my locked side gate, stood a 14-year-old in basketball shorts yelling into his phone like he was directing a hostage negotiation. "He's barricaded himself," he screamed. "He's blocking the passage." The barricade was my own gate, my property, my lock, installed for one simple reason: I prefer my flower beds without tire tracks. The officer who arrived looked like he'd seen this sort of suburban nonsense before. He gave the latch 2 experimental clicks, turned to the kid, and sighed the sigh of a man who's handled too many false alarms. "Son," he said, "this is how gates work." That was the moment I realized I wasn't living in a neighborhood. I was living in a sitcom written by Kafka. Let me back up. I'm Nolan Pierce, analyst by day, woodworker by weekend, and a coffee enthusiast of scandalous decibel levels. When I bought my house in Cedar Crest Meadows, I wanted 2 things: mature trees and peace. The brochure promised discreet community living. The reality, I got Trisha Malaloy. Trisha is our HOA president. She wears her visor like a battle helmet and treats her clipboard like a divine instrument. She has strong feelings about mailbox height, grass blade length, and the exact legal shade of beige for your front door. Her teenage son, Brandon, leads a small army of middle schoolers who think our cul-de-sac is a BMX racetrack. They carve shortcuts through yards, crush plants, and test fences like they're training for a suburban obstacle course. My side yard was their favorite route, a shortcut from the top of the hill straight to the snack bar at Brandon's garage. So I built a gate, a handsome cedar masterpiece that matched my fence, stained perfectly with quality hinges that could survive a small hurricane. It was beautiful, functional, peaceful. Until Trisha saw it. The next morning, I found an envelope tucked into my door handle, official HOA letterhead and everything. Gates discourage community flow. Community flow, my yard isn't a public park. Then came another note. Unneighborly access reduction, $50 fine. Visual obstinacy, $75. Unauthorized latch, $100. Visual obstinacy, I didn't know whether to pay it or frame it. Trisha began treating my driveway like her personal press conference. She'd lean into my garage, lecture me about pedestrian easement and circulation patterns, quoting phrases she probably picked up from a city planning documentary she half-watched on Netflix. Then she took it online. Our neighborhood chat forum lit up with her post. "Some people are locking their gates, thoughts." She screenshot every reply that agreed with her and left printouts on my windshield. I had become the villain of Cedar Crest Meadows. Soon, her son Brandon began testing the latch daily. I found 14 tally marks scratched into my fence in Sharpie, each one representing an attempt. Then one afternoon, I caught Trisha herself with a yardstick measuring my gate. "It's 1 inch too freedom negative," she declared. "What does that even mean?" I asked. "You'll find out when you get the fine." I emailed her my architectural approval, complete with signatures, photos, and timestamps. She replied within minutes. "Approvals can be spiritually revoked." I read that line 5 times, searching for sarcasm. There was none. Everything boiled over the following weekend. I was in my garage sorting tools when I heard bike tires skid and a dramatic gasp worthy of Shakespeare. Brandon stood at my locked gate, clutching his phone like a sword. "Yes, it's an emergency," he shouted into the receiver. "He's blocking the public passageway." Public passageway through my fence. Moments later, Trisha appeared, visor shining, holding a wrinkled photocopy of what she claimed was a walking path from 1998, a path that was never actually built. She declared my yard community adjacent and accused me of capturing public land. The responding officer looked at me with a face that said, "I don't get paid enough for this." He asked for proof. Tricia proudly waved her photocopy. "Do you have legal documentation?" he asked. "I have community memory," she replied. I nearly choked on my coffee. Then came her fatal mistake. She admitted right there that she had tested my lock 3 times this week. The scratches on the latch suddenly made sense. The officer raised an eyebrow. "So, you tried to open a locked gate on private property?" "It's not private," she said. "It's community adjacent." At that point, I went inside and returned with my receipts, literal ones. A plat map stamped by the county recorder, proving my boundaries. A survey from 8 months ago. HOA bylaws clearly stating homeowners could install and lock gates. And the architectural review form, stamped, approved, with Tricia's own signature. The officer radioed zoning. Within minutes, the reply came. "No easement on lot 42, property confirmed private." I showed him one last piece of evidence, Ring camera footage. On video, Tricia using a butter knife to lift my latch. Brandon yanking on the gate hard enough to shake the fence. And finally, Tricia whispering, "If it breaks, it was loose." The officer stared at the footage. "Would you like to revise your statement, ma'am?" "The camera angle is misleading," she said. Sure it was. 2 weeks later, Cedar Crest Meadows held a special HOA meeting. Half the neighborhood came for the drama. The other half came for the Costco cookie trays. I requested the meeting officially and prepared a presentation. Yes, a slideshow. If I was going down, I was going down PowerPoint first. Tricia arrived in her power visor, clipboard in hand. I stepped to the projector. Slide 1, the plat map, a mythical walking path labeled, proposed, abandoned 1998, never built, removed from plan in 1999. Slide 2, HOA bylaws, clause 7.3. Gates permitted, locks permitted, owner discretion for security. Slide 3, the Ring video, 2 minutes of Tricia and Brandon's greatest hits. Silence filled the room, except for her voice whispering, "If it breaks, it was loose." Slide 4, a letter from County Council stating that calling 911 over a locked gate is not an emergency, and repeatedly trying to open one could qualify as attempted trespass. Slide 5, a list of fines she'd issued me, totaling $475, and my request for reimbursement plus a written apology. At this point, even the HOA attorney cleared his throat. He began muttering about harassment, abuse of authority, and tortious interference, words that make HOA boards sweat. The vote was swift, 7-0 to rescind all my fines. Tricia abstained. Then came a motion to censure her for instructing minors to trespass, revoke her privileges, and remove her monthly $100 stipend. Her voice cracked. "But the shed is my office." The treasurer didn't look up. "It stores folding chairs, Tricia." The motion passed 6-1. By the end of that week, she had lost her title, her key, and, ironically, her sense of community adjacency. A few days later, she gained something new, a court-ordered injunction. She and Brandon were legally required to stay 5 feet from my fence at all times unless invited. The judge had reviewed my footage, frowned deeply, and ordered a mandatory boundary education session. Filing fee, $300, paid by Tricia. The HOA even issued a respect the gate policy, complete with a diagram of my latch, now the official example in the neighborhood handbook. As for Brandon, his community service now includes repainting the fences he and his friends had tested. 40 hours total. He rides his bike the long way around now, every loop adding 2 extra minutes to his route. Tricia sits quietly at the back of HOA meetings these days. No visor, no clipboard, Just her, a folding chair, and a cookie tray she can't quite reach from her new seat. Sometimes, when I sip my coffee in the morning, I look at my beautiful cedar gate, still standing, still locked, and smile. Because in Cedar Crest Meadows, peace isn't free. It's stained, sealed, and secured with a latch. That was today's tale from Hoa Tales. Thank you for listening. If this story touched you, share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you.